Here we go. Hey, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing, there you go. Oh, this fucking mic. There we go. Testing. Oh, you motherfucker. Testing. Okay. Here we go. She's working. She's working. Testing. I'm going to get one of these microphones. I actually tried this microphone. It's from, remember Radio Shack? Remember Radio Shack, the store that used to fucking overcharge you for complete shit electrical equipment? Yeah. I always wanted that little mic that Bob Barker had and he used to hold like this. I don't know. She came to me with a serpent's kiss as the eye of the sun rose on her lips. Moonlight catches silver tears I cry. As we lay in a black embrace. And I wait, and I the eyes of the Nile, you'll see. I mean, come on. Bruce Dickinson, man. Come on. That was like their only, like, almost love song, right? Revelation. Iron Maiden's hardcore, baby. That was like their only dip of their toes into a love ballad. Whew. That and Charlotte the Harlot. No. What a song though, right? I mean, come on. Nothing can be fucking better than that. You know something? I got this for you. White people are very confused out there today. I mean, listen. Culturally, white people are the most devastated race there is. You heard it here first. Seriously. White people don't have any identity whatsoever. I don't know if you ever noticed that. There's no they're all very confused. You could tell. You see the guy walking his pit bull with the FUBU jacket, the fucking Timberland boots, the Hugo Boss jeans, and the Beats headphones on. I mean, come on. He's a guy that needs a correction in his life. I know how to do it too. I know how to reset white people. You know how you do it? You put on Accept, balls against the wall. You wear a leather jacket, you listen to Balls Against the Wall, and you drive a car with a V8 engine. And all of a sudden you're white again. Yeah. Oh, you better believe it. Mm-hmm. You better believe it. White people are in peril as far as their identity is concerned. They don't know who the fuck they are lately. I don't know what's going on. You want to know who you are? Go watch the Beach Boys. Go watch the video. What's the black and white video for I Get Around? Do that. Go search YouTube and watch the Beach Boys, I Get Around. And their video where they're all sitting there like this. And on the same old strip, I get around. And like they're all sitting there with these really tight pants on, and they're like not moving at all and singing. It's great. It's fantastic. You don't have to jump all over stage. When I see you sing on stage, I don't have to see a dance routine. I really don't. You can just stand there Like Joey Ramone. Come on, man. Hit me hard. Let the music do the talking. Let the music do the talking. I don't know what you're talking about here. Beach Boys? You ever play Yo Bro? Play Yo Bro on TurboGrafx 16? Come over to Phil's house. I'll pour you some iced tea that'll make you stay awake until New Year's Eve. Yeah, Yo Bro. I don't know. Listen, Yo Bro is one of those games that slipped right between the cracks. I think it was the TurboGrafx little attempt at a mascot. I don't know. Oh yeah, this bear that drives around on a skateboard. Right? Wasn't a side scroller though, and it had an objective. You had to save the human race from like aliens or something like that to Beach Boy music. Phil used to play the game endlessly. I remember going over to Phil's house and rolling my eyes. Oh, guys, playing Yo Bro again. I hear. I mean, I don't know how they pulled off the licenses back in the. Imagine trying to license Beach Boy music nowadays. Please. But it had everything on it. It had Help Me Rhonda. It had Surfing USA. I Get Around. That was a soundtrack, man. It was a soundtrack. And for you, this bear, you could do like a little breakdancing. Maybe you throw some cans at these killer plants or something like that. Yo Bro was an interesting game. I never played it myself. I just used to watch Phil play it. And I was content with that. And then it was like, hey Phil, can we throw on Sinistron? Oh my God. Nobody talks about Sinistron. Also known as, by the way, on the PC Engine, also known as Violent Soldier. I mean, what kind of... This is the great thing about the PC Engine. Some of the names of these games, Psycho Chaser, Mad Stalker, the Dead of Brain, or some of these game names are outrageous. Outlive. Yeah, so Violent Soldier. I mean, listen, this is one situation where when it comes to cover art, you can give me either one. You can give me the PC Engine version, or you can give me the American version. They're both badass. Sinistron. Listen to that name, Sinistron. And let me tell you something right now. Sinistron had some of the most epically evil music you ever heard in your life. You want to know the beauty of Sinistron and Violent Soldier? Okay, it's one of these games. It's like Image Fight. It's like Soldier Blade. Okay, unlimited continues. Did Soldier Blade have unlimited continues? I'm not sure about that. No, it didn't. I don't think it did. I love shooters with unlimited continues. They could be, if it has unlimited continues. Let me start you back at the beginning of the last board that you were on, right? That's fine with me, because then you and your buddy can sit there and shoot the controller back and forth and just attack the game. And we used to play Sinistron for hours, and that game was impossible. I don't even think we got to the last board. We got to the second to last level, and it was impossible. I got to be honest with you. When I was younger, I thought Sinistron. I didn't like Sinistron. We played it, because Phil bought it, but I didn't like it because your ship had like this bird. It had like a bird beak on it. I don't know. The ship was so ugly. It was this big long ship with like a big beak on the end of it. And the beak was basically indestructible. You could take bullet fire from the front. But here's the thing you could do. You could open up the beak. Okay. This is how you know that they were like grasping at straws now for ideas with shooters. I mean, there were so many shooters launched for the TurboGrafx 16. They're like, guys, we got to come up with something. And I can imagine the board meeting. He's like, oh, I got it. We'll put a big bird beak on the front of the fucking plane. Oh, that's great. Let's go outside and smoke 3 packs of cigarettes like you're supposed to do in Japan. No. It had this big beak, and then what would happen was, it was indestructible, the beak. But when you opened it up a little bit, your fire would get wider. So you'd have a more of a spread shot. But the problem is, then you were vulnerable because then the front of your ship was exposed. And then you could open up the beak bigger, which would give you an even bigger blast of fire, which happened to be a less concentrated blast of fire. So it was a weaker shot. And you left the front of your ship even more exposed. It was a concept. Whether it was a good concept or not, I love it now. Okay? Purely for nostalgia reasons. Okay, but Sinistron, it'll put you through your paces, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. When it was funny, everybody, listen, when I played the TurboGrafx 16, I either went to Georgie's house. Okay, Georgie had 2 games. He had Dungeon Explorer, like me, and he had Sidearms. Those were the only 2 games he had. It was funny, he got the TurboGrafx 16 with 2 games, and he never bought another game for the system. That's the type of stuff that used to happen. He also had a Game Gear. When he got the Game Gear, he got G-Lock, and he got another like role-playing game for it. I forgot what the name of the game was. But those were the only games that he ever had. It was like his parents bought him a game system, 2 games, and figured that was it. They're done. And they didn't have to buy any more games for you. Well, you have these games. You play those. I don't know. So then, you go over Rex's house. I'd play a couple other TurboGrafx 16 games, and then I would go over Phil's house, and it was other games like the very Japanese type style games like Bravo Man. I remember we played Bravo. We used to love Bravo Man. Nobody talks about Bravo Man, do they? I don't hear anybody. And Bravo Man was like, it was totally Japanese. It was Japanese City. It was like, this is ripped right from the PC Engine, buddies. And why they chose certain games over other games, I have no clue why. But for some reason, I thought it was important to bring over Bravo Man. But Bravo Man, he used to be able to shoot his head out. as an attack. You could shoot your arm out, almost like Plastic Man. I don't know. Who's the guy from Fantastic Four? You could kick your leg up in the air, like your leg would go really far. Like Vector Man. It kind of looked like Vector Man, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. But the great thing about Bravo Man is every time he would punch, or every time he would kick, or every time he would headbutt, he'd go, Bravo! Bravo! Bravo!
Bravo!
Because that's important when you're a superhero. And you were trying to hunt down this guy, Dr. Bomb, and like between each level, you'd get like this scene, and the guy'd be like, "I'm Dr. Bomb." I don't know. I loved Bravo Man though. Bravo Man was legendary for taking leaps of faith. It was a platformer. Okay, you could jump up onto these platforms like it felt like you were going miles into the sky, but you'd have to take leaps of faith, and ultimately you'd fall down. And it was a very confusing game. Never beat it. Never beat it. And you go into a phone booth, and the phone booth would say, "Hello, I'm a Japanese phone booth." It was like, what? Very strange game. It was like JJ and Jeff. Very Japanese inspired. JJ and Jeff, I couldn't beat that game. I used to play it and play it and play it. I'd find all the secrets. But for some reason, I could not beat it. That's another game I'd like to go back and beat. JJ and Jeff, remember the music? Oh, God. It's like. I don't know. You had birds shitting on you, right? And JJ and Jeff. I know that the PC Engine version is like a more like toilet humor based game where you can like, I don't know, take a piss or take a shit somewhere. I don't know. JJ and Jeff was interesting though. You had these big heads. The graphics were pleasing. The controls were very floaty. But you adjusted for it. JJ and Jeff, what are you gonna do? And then Blazing Lasers was a staple over Phil's house. Oh yeah. Blazing Lasers, I don't think Phil ever beat Blazing Lasers. That was another game. Blazing Lasers is famously known for having a very very easy gameplay first level, and then ramping up to impossibility by the last level. And I remember Phil getting stuck in Blazing Lasers. Blazing Lasers had a soundtrack, though. Much like Sinistron. 16-bit era was wonderful for this. TurboGrafx especially, a lot of percussion in the music, which was missing during the Nintendo days. I think it was there, but I mean, this was like you had tom-toms, hi-hats, this type of thing. And nobody. Well, listen, they were hitting they were playing the percussion in Blazing Lasers. It might even have been maybe too much. It was all tom-toms, right? It was like a guy was constantly doing a fill in the background. But that's what made Blazing Lasers special. That, the graphics, the power-ups, I mean, come on. I used to sit there and watch Phil play for hours. I'd sit on his bunk bed, you know. This was before Phil had his apartment on the back of the house. I'd sit in his apartment, in his bunk bed, and just eat and drink Simply Soda and iced tea. It was sugar, caffeine, and TurboGrafx. Sugar, caffeine, and TurboGrafx. What more do you need in life? What more do you honestly fucking need? I don't know. I don't know. Oh yeah. And then when Phil got the CD player, I remember Phil used to do something so reckless. All right, number one. Remember when it was a new thing to have a portable CD player, like one that you would wear on a disc band? Because remember how they would skip in the early days of portable CD players? Number one, they were expensive beyond your imagination. They were like $300, and then they would skip. Like, you had to be very careful. You couldn't go out riding your bike with the fucking CD player on your hip. That wasn't happening. You couldn't go jogging. You know, it was like you had to hover walk. You could speed walk with your CD player on. And remember, they had oversampling. This one has 5 times oversampling, 10 times oversampling. Then it got to like 20 times oversampling, and then all of a sudden CDs didn't skip anymore. Well, when Phil got his CD player, okay, number one, I couldn't believe he used to do this. He used to use, because one of the gimmicks to the TurboGrafx CD player is like, hey, you could take the CD player with you on the go. And I'm thinking, and Phil used to take it out. He'd go out riding his bike and have the turbo CD player hanging from his waist. And I remember thinking to myself, what is he, fucking nuts? Never in a million years. One bump, that fucker hits the ground, and it's game over. Literally. It's game over. Talk about nightmare. You get the turbo CD player, and you break it because you did something reckless like that? Please. We used to play It Came from the Desert on that sucker. That was my game, by the way. I ordered It Came from the Desert. Let me tell you something, full motion video. When I first got my Turbo Duo, number one, I ran out and I bought, you guys don't know this. Oh no, you don't. I'm going to show you something right now. There were CDs that you could play in your Turbo Duo. Oh, you didn't know that your Turbo Duo could connect into an Apple computer, did you? Oh, this was mind melting. I was like, oh my God, This is my Turbo Duo's connecting into a computer. What's going to happen next? Let me show you something. Is it in this one? Maybe it's in this one. Oh yeah, here you go. Compact. I've been thinking about buying a TurboGrafx CD peripheral, and I was wondering if the CD-ROM includes any software in the package, since Keith Courage and Alpha Zones is packed in with the TurboGrafx 16. Are there any games in the TG CD box? Nope. The only thing packed with the TG CD is the systems card, which is a turbo chip. That's another thing. This thing didn't come with a game. Okay. So limited run. Okay. Yes. Okay. There's a slim chance you might be able to find. Okay. CD plus G discs were made for the TurboGrafx 16. Do you understand that? CD plus G. In other words, there were music CDs. There was like 5 of them. One was like Bonnie Raitt. I think I bought it. I'm pretty sure I did buy it. Let's give them something to talk about. I bought that CD. I know I did. And then then I would watch the graphics on my Turbo Duo. Oh my God, put you to sleep. Anyhow, but the big thing was Jimi Hendrix Smash Hits. You could find it in CD plus G. And I did find it in Sam Goody in the Sunrise Mall. And you look at the back and it would say CD plus G. And I bought that. And basically what would happen is you'd see like these graphic things, the Jimi Hendrix face running around or whatnot. And I would sit there and I would stare at it. And even at that was a big deal. And hell, the CD was only what? At the time, $15, cheaper than a game. Anything to see my Turbo Duo in action. So when It Came from the Desert was out for a while. This was full motion video. This was a really super big deal. You had games like Sherlock Holmes, what was it? Investigative Detective, Magical Dinosaur Tour. This stuff had full motion video. Huge deal, but I'm going to tell you right now, It Came from the Desert is a good game, bro. Let me tell you something. As far as cheesiness is concerned, it doesn't get any worse. But I had fun. Phil and I used to have fun playing It Came from the Desert. It was a fun game. And it had some side-scrolling, like, nonsense where you would go down inside the ant lair. It was a build-up of almost like the end of the world coming and a takeover by these radioactive ants. It was fun. It was really fun for the time. We really thought we were doing something. And it would have this like side-scrolling part where you'd roll around in these ant tunnels and whatnot and shoot ants. And the soundtrack, listen, it was basically like you were like this white trash kid. Your mother was like this fucking drunk that would constantly yell at you.
I gotta head home, I guess. Home. What a joke.
Your stepfather might lose his job over this, you know. His own kid breaking in and stealing from his company? We didn't raise you to do this.
You didn't raise me, you got that right. I didn't steal nothing. There are ants out there the size of Pontiacs, and you're whining about Dad's stinking atomic waste dump?
That cheap trick of a girlfriend of yours called. She says maybe she's not going to be home tonight after all. Maybe she's going to go out with a friend. Maybe she's going to go to the drive-in to make out.
Your father was like another fucking dirtbag.
So, Mr. Big Shot, riding around on your fancy cycle all day? Elroy, you tell this ungrateful lodger of ours how it's going to be from now on. You tell him what we decided. Go on now.
Buzz, you been going to school long enough. You ain't learning nothing, and we got no money for fancy college stuff. So your stepmother and I decided that instead of you going back to school next week, that you're going to start with me down at the site. There's no better job in this town, and now all that book stuff ain't going to do you no good with the boys down at the plant.
Dad, the plant's a time bomb. They got leakage and busted containers all over the place. It's a death trap. The doc figures...
The doc, it's always the doc this and the doc that. That old mail case, what does he know? Now let's show some respect from the folks who raised you, ungrateful little punk. Hit him, Elroy, let him have it. Hit him.
Get me a beer, Ruth. Now, we done told him. Ain't that enough?
That was giving you a hard time all the time, so you felt like you were on your own. And you made friends with like this professor, and he was telling you what was happening. He was like in the know, and you're like blowing him off at first, but then you start to see evidence of this happening. And like your mother would be yelling at you, and you'd go take a ride on your motorcycle. And when you would ride on the motorcycle, it would play this song. It was one of the first times that I heard singing in a video game. Like it was an actual song that you'd hear almost on the radio. And I remember back then thinking to myself, oh God, this song is fucking retarded. But it was catchy. And you get into it after a while.
What do you want to hear, babe?
Well, Sea of Love, of course.
The #1 requested song of the night. Sea of Love.
It came from the desert, man. That was a great game. I don't know why I don't own it right now. It's cheap enough. You know, and you would pick your paths. And the game had a lot of replayability. That and Keith Courage. I got news for you. Everybody likes to bash Keith Courage. I loved Keith Courage. Keith Courage was so different. You were in like this goody two-shoes overworld. You could get gold. You could grind in Keith Courage, by the way. You could get gold and buy items. And the next thing you know, you transport down into this underworld. And there were all these crazy enemies. This guy, I remember the one guy walking around. He was a fucking revolver. Remember that guy? He'd walk around. He was like a walking revolver. And the music in Keith Courage in the Underworld, oh my God, man, it's brutal. It's brutal. And I always used to love, like, there'd be statues in the back of Keith Courage, and you'd see, like, a glow. God almighty. Let me tell you something right now. Keith Courage on the nostalgia scale is way up there. Way up there. Just thinking, I just hear the sword hitting the revolver guy. It puts me right back on my living room floor. Just like that. And oh my God, Phil's neighbor. I remember Phil's neighbor had 2 TurboGrafx games. Right? He was an older guy. And I remember on a paper route one day, we went to collect, and he mentioned that he had TurboGrafx games. And Phil had mentioned something about, hey, would you be interested in like trading? Like, you know, we'll trade a game and trade back, you know, just borrow it. And I was like, hey, Phil. No. And the guy was like, oh, yeah. But he kind of blew us off, you know? Like, yeah, I'll do that, but not really. And all I needed to know is that he had Splatterhouse and Battle Royale behind that door. And I went over there the very next day. I had to check to see if my mic was fucking me tender. And I remember knocking on this guy's door for 20 minutes. He finally came to the door. And I asked him, I wanted to borrow Splatterhouse and Battle Royale. And I forgot what I traded him for. But I remember he lent me Splatterhouse. So I ran home and played Splatterhouse and beat it a couple times. And then I went back to him and... Oh my God. And then I went back to him and I borrowed Battle Royale. Oh my God. Battle Royale is one of those games that I wanted it to be good so bad. You know, who didn't want I wanted a good wrestling game. And on paper, Battle Royale could have been fantastic. It was just like, I didn't care that it didn't have the official wrestlers. Okay? I didn't care. It had these crazy looking guys. It was supposed to be good. It had like these reporters, like announcers, and they were talking about the fights and whatnot. And had all these crazy characters. They were fine, and they were all animated well and whatnot. The problem is nobody had a super move. They had a taunt in the ring. You could walk around the ring and taunt. But when you got in the ring, it basically turned into a punch and kick match. With no super moves. It was like, what? Come on. That game was such a letdown. And I thought to myself, I read... Battle Royale is one of the few games where I read the instruction manual front to back because I thought I was missing something. I was like, where are the super moves? What am I doing wrong in this game? I remember you could throw guys out of the ring. It was like perfect, but you would climb up the ropes, but you couldn't jump on them. I mean, it was just like there was something missing. Something missing. And I don't dislike Battle Royale because I feel like it could fill in a few small gaps and it would be right there as a classic game. They just missed it. They missed out. They really blew it with that game. It's a shame. It's a crying shame because it would have been a decent wrestling game on the TurboGrafx 16. I think the only wrestling game, unless you go to the PC Engine. And you play Fire Pro Wrestling, which I don't have the stomach for. The idea of timing button presses to perform wrestling moves is ridiculous to me. If I'm playing a wrestling game, I want a fucking button masher. Okay? Like WrestleMania in the arcade! I want to hit those buttons till my fingers are bleeding. That's what it's all about. Anyway, other than that, well, the other game that we used to play was Tiger Road. Remember Tiger Road? Tiger Road, this was another very Japanese game too, Tiger Road. You were like this Japanese guy with a big head. And you would like, you get all these crazy weapons. You'd have like this staff that you'd use. And we didn't realize these were very Japanese games then until you see PC Engine games now. You have something to compare it to. Tiger Road was a very Japanesey game. And the next thing you know, you were flying around. It had like a side-scrolling level. Tiger Road was another game that you wanted to like more than you did. It was like there was something about the game. It wasn't that great, but for some reason I wanted it to be better. Like I felt like it could be, like this is going to be better. I gave it such a benefit of the doubt. Tiger Road's all right. It's all right. I remember you had this staff with like a ball on the end of it, and you chuck it and the balls would go around. It was like, it's a very strange game. It was a mixture of like, I don't know, karate, like kung fu, but then you could platform upward, and then you were flying. I don't know what the fuck was going on, to be honest with you. Listen, guys, I got news for you. The garage sales are virtually non-existent now. Okay, that's it. Season's over. I've been holding out. Season's over. And I've been going on Craigslist. I got news for you. Why can't Craigslist get their fucking act together? Please, can somebody? Honestly, you go into Craigslist and you go into the section for, buying video games, and there's people advertising that they're looking to buy video games. Why can't Craigslist find out a way to eliminate these people? Hire somebody. I don't care what you got to do. But it's like the most frustrating thing ever. I don't know. Craigslist is fucking dead. Garage sales are fucking dead. What do you want me to fucking tell you? That's it. You just tuned in to the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization. And you better believe that. With a 4K face! And see you next time.